Lijepi vam pozdrav svima ispred KNA TV-a. Evo nas u novom videu. Danas sa posebnim gostom ispred football.londona, Kayu Kaynak, novinar. Samo da znate, ovaj video će se dalje nastaviti na engleskom, čisto da znate, tako da ukoliko možete pratiti, bit će nam vrlo drago, ukoliko ne, budemo vam dali neki kratki sažetak. So, hello everyone, welcome to our podcast. Here with us today, Dino in front of KNA TV, and the Arsenal chief reporter chief Arsenal writer for Football London, Kayu Kaynaka, here with us. Kaya, thank you for accepting our invitation and welcome to our show.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you. So can you, just for the start, tell us a few words about yourself? I saw that you are a writer for Football London, and can you explain a little, your reference on the Twitter, Turkish, English, French? Yeah. I saw something about European Championship 2 years ago, I think, 3 years ago, when it was about you were writing some about Turkey. Correct me if I'm wrong about something.
That's correct. So those are the languages that I speak. My father is Turkish, my mother is English, and then I learned French at school and did some French at university as well. So I speak those three languages. People always get confused because they think I'm from France as well. So I always have to correct them on that. But maybe I need to make that more clear. But yeah, a few years ago, I was doing some stuff on that. And I've been covering Arsenal now for 3 years with Football London. Started in a more junior role. And then this season, well, towards the end of last season as well, I stepped up and have taken over as the chief Arsenal writer. And yeah, it's been great. You get to go to the press conferences, you get to go to the games, all that kind of stuff. And, I don't want to take credit, but since I've started doing that, they've started playing really well. So, it's not been too bad a time.
Can you tell me, how do you feel when you are going to press conference? What does it feel? You got into London, call me. How are things there? How do you feel when you got it?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously, when I decided that I wanted to become a journalist, this is the kind of stuff I wanted to do. And I'm also an Arsenal fan, so getting to go to the training ground and being so close and being all around it is fantastic. And the press conferences with Mikel Arteta can sometimes be difficult. He's not always the most forthcoming. Sometimes it's a bit like getting blood from a stone. It's very difficult to get answers from him. That can be tricky. But for the most part, I just, whenever you feel down about it, you realize you're in a very privileged position. But it's mostly just going in there and trying to figure out, what will he respond to? What will he answer? And I think this is something people struggle with sometimes when they ask, why didn't you ask this question? Why didn't you ask that question? It's about, I guess, trying to come up with a question that you think he'll give the best answer to. So there's a lot of that. It's a lot of sort of thinking about what you think he'll respond to and trying to second guess Mikel Arteta, which is never easy.
So you are enjoying living your dream,
Yeah, it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't need to waste time about something else. So we can go to the match that we are here. Dino will ask you a few questions about that. I will be here to ask you about hot chocolate later, and that's all for me.
Kaya, thank you once again, obviously now in front of the camera as well, for being our guest here in front of official supporters club from Croatia. It means really a lot. You are our first special guest, especially in our first actually podcast in English. So yeah, there is a good change, and we're gonna hopefully progress with that as well, and meet some other journalists and people in general. Quick question straight away on the game. Just the general feeling, not based on anything too deep, where we are, how we maybe dropped off a little bit recently. Man City hit the form probably in last month, I would say. Just your general feeling for this game. Is it that fear, or is it more excitement for you as a fan?
As a fan, I think so. Now it's fear. I think in the hour before kickoff, it will be excitement, because I think every single fan does this, where as soon as the team news comes out, you start to convince yourself, oh, maybe today this could be the day. Maybe it'll be a shock. Maybe, because Arsenal haven't won at the Etihad in the league since 2015. So that's 8 years. It's a long time. And you start to convince yourself this will be the year where they finally do it. But Yeah, it's at the moment it's a bit more fear just because look at the personnel that Arsenal are going to have available, and you look at the personnel that Man City are going to have available, and how good they look, and how bad Arsenal have been the past few games. It's a mixture of the two, but probably leaning more towards the fear at the minute, I think.
Yeah, I think we probably all are, just based on what was going on recently, especially with us. Not so much Man City. You would expect them to be on top of their game anyway, but just with us, and as you said, with personnel as well that's not going to be available, and those who will be available. But yeah, same for me. Probably excitement divided with fear as well. When I think Wednesday morning, when I wake up and I have my coffee in the office, I'll probably be fully excited. I think that day I'll probably be looking forward, trying to find anything to hold on where we can, where we can exploit them or do whatever. But yeah, at the moment, it's just massive importance, and we just see what happens. What do you expect from Arsenal in general? What kind of approach do you expect? Do you think that we will not give up on what we were doing all season? Or do you think that maybe for this game, just because we are leaking too many goals, we are conceding too many chances as well? We were getting away with it, I think, even against Bournemouth, and before that as well, Aston Villa, we're just conceding too many chances. Do you think that for this game now, I'm not saying we go and just sit deep in Ramsdale's lap and then try to counter-attack, but maybe a little bit more beat them on the break?
Interesting. I was looking at the teams who have done well against Manchester City this season, and I hate to say it, but Tottenham got a very good result against them, and Brentford got a very good result against them earlier in the season. And what those two teams did have in common was they played a back five as opposed to a back four. And it got me thinking, last season when Arsenal were on a run of 3 losses as opposed to 3 draws, Mikel Arteta went to Stamford Bridge, and Arsenal weren't expecting to beat Chelsea, and he pulled everyone by surprise, and Arsenal sort of went to a hybrid back five, back four system, which was confusing, but it worked. And do I see him doing something so outside of the box for such an important game with so much on the line? I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it's beyond him. I don't think it's, beyond the realms of possibility. I just look at who's available to try that. And I think it would make sense in the sense that you protect maybe Rob Holding a little bit more. You don't leave him so isolated against Erling Haaland. And we saw that in the FA Cup game at the Etihad in January, when people thought Holding did okay against Haaland. I didn't think he did very well personally. I thought he was lucky to make it to halftime without being sent off. I think he could easily have received 2 yellow cards, and it was giving me flashbacks to Son last season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What's to think about that for too long if they can avoid it? So it's a concern. And obviously, if Arsenal had William Saliba, I think they'd be going for a much more front-footed approach, and they'd be looking to build up from the back and play their game a bit more. But the reality is, with Rob Holding in there, they do have to change it, I think, a little bit. I don't think you can play the same game, because if you look at the way Arsenal played this season, they leave the 2 centre-backs very exposed. Gabriel and Saliba have had a lot of defensive work to do 1v1. And I don't know if you can do that with Rob Holding. I think he's not quick enough. I think he gets too close to the attacker. I think he gets too mentally focused and sort of fixated on individual battles with opponents as opposed to trying to defend the game as a whole. And yeah, it's a concern. I do think he'll have to change it. I've heard of people suggesting various different alternatives that maybe Arsenal could do. People have suggested, could you move Thomasa Parteya to right back and play Jorginho in midfield? I think it's too big a game to try something completely different myself. I think Arteta will stick with what we've seen in the past few games. Maybe within that there'll be a few tweaks, or maybe he'll look to just say, you know what, Arsenal's best chance of winning this is by trying to attack Man City, because defensively they've been really poor for the past few games, and maybe he'll go out all attack, but can't see that working either. So it's really tricky. But if I had to say something, I'd say that if there's a guy who I'd trust to find a way of beating Pep Guardiola, it's probably Mikel Arteta, and he's obviously got a great track record this season. And fingers crossed he can see something that none of us can at the minute, really.
That's pretty much exactly when you said potentially 5 at the back, and what we've done at Stamford Bridge last season as well, in the similar stage of the season as well, when we had to go on a run, which we did until later, crumbling for various reasons at Newcastle and all. But we were thinking as well, we were tweaking, we were trying to communicate in our WhatsApp groups, we were drawing on a paper what could be done. I don't think removing Thomasa Parteya from the midfield is an option at all. Potentially, if you could play White, Gabriel, and maybe Kieran Tierney, but not as formation, just to draw the formation, but how are we going to look in possession, how we would look out of possession. I think you would have to give Saka almost responsibility of right wing back and to hold that whole side on his own, so White can stay more central with Haaland. And then if Zinchenko plays, he obviously going to tuck in with Partey. I don't know. I think removing Thomas Partey from the midfield, what some people suggested, and putting Jorginho, who is probably better on the ball, but is slower, cannot cover the the spaces in between. I don't know. I think he's going to stick with Rob Holding as well. Unfortunately, Rob Holding, obviously Saliba and Gabriel, when they play, they have recovery pace. They can make it. High line, high risk with Rob Holding. But yeah, we see what happens. He knows better than us for sure. He sees the boys in the training ground every single day, and we'll see. I do believe we can do something. Do we have to protect Holding? Yes, White gets to run more than he should usually, and Thomas Partey as well. I think they're the two main ones. Although Gabriel looks different as well when Rob Holding plays. So we'll see. I think Thomas, yeah, you basically through all that story guided me towards my actually next planned question for you, and that's Thomas Partey, who I believe, even before Holding was introduced, even before Saliba went off injured, had a drop off in performance. I don't think he protected the back line together with other two midfielders and wing backs, whoever, Zinchenko as well. I don't think that we had the right balance. I think we were conceding too many chances. Pretty much what's happening to Liverpool now. Van Dijk did not forget to play football overnight. Obviously, their backline is not protected due to midfield, and I think that's what happened to us. We were open too many times against Bournemouth, against Villa, many games. And now with Rob Holding, it seems just more. It seems like Thomas Partey even went one level below as well again, because he maybe has to cover a lot more ground than usual off the ball. And Ben White, I don't think, can go and overlap or underlap as often as usual. He has to stay narrow in defense, closer to Holding. So what's your view on that? And do you think it just takes something out of us as well? And then because it's not just Rob Holding. I think his presence in a negative way affects our players around him as well, because he needs protection.
Yeah, I agree. I think where Saliba is so good, obviously he's fantastic defensively and he's got the recovery pace, as you were saying before, and he's really good 1v1 and he's strong as well. But where he's so good in a Mikel Arteta team is that he can distribute the ball very quickly. So he'll receive the ball from Gabriel or Ramsdale, 1-2 touch, he plays it forward. Rob Holding needs 3, 4, 5 touches, and we saw that if you look in the build-up to Partey's mistake against West Ham. I know he's stupid to try and flick the ball over Declan Rice, but in the build-up to it, Rob Holding does have the chance to play the ball up the line to Ben White. He pauses, he takes 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, plays it back to Gabriel. Gabriel plays to Partey, and then we all know what happens after that. And that does affect the game. And I read a really interesting piece actually on Sky Sports about how Saka is getting less touches since Holding came into the team. And that's really interesting because Saliba, when he distributes up the line or straight to Saka. And now Saka's touching the ball less because Arsenal aren't using the right flank as much because they're trying to shift over to the left-hand side. And obviously that's been great for Martinelli, and he's scoring lots of goals at the minute. And Xhaka's been scoring goals as well, and that's helped. But it does mean that Saka's not as influential, and I do think he suffers. And yeah, I agree with you. I think Partey also has a role to play in terms of dropping off. I think Partey is someone who maybe gets a little bit of a harsh rap in the sense that a lot of Arsenal's games where you could say since, post-World Cup, you could argue that his form maybe not been as good, have been quite stretched games. So you mentioned the Bournemouth game. I think that was a weird one in the sense that obviously Arsenal conceded in the first minute. So from minute 1, literally of the game, they were trying to chase it and win the game. And from that point onward, Partey's basically defending the whole midfield on his own while Xhaka and Odegaard or was Vieira and Odegaard that day were trying to attack. So yeah, Rob Holding it feels like we're all bullying Rob Holding. It feels like we're all piling in on him, which I don't think any of us want to do, because I think, he's one of the longest serving players and we all like him, but he's not William Saliba and he's not even Takehiro Tomiyasu. If Tomiyasu were fit, he'd probably, in my opinion, be playing, or maybe you'd move Ben White across. So it does affect the team, and he's a totally different player. He's got a totally different skill set. And if Arsenal were leading 1-0 at the Etihad in the 85th minute, there's no one who I'd want to come on the pitch ahead of Rob Holding. But starting at 0-0 going into this game, I think it's a problem. And I do think, like you say, it affects Partey. I think it affects Ben White. I think it affects Saka as well. But Arsenal need to find a way to deal with it. And championship winning teams throughout history have found a way of dealing with it. If you look back at the Invincibles, I know the first choice partnership was Kolo Touré and Sol Campbell, but they didn't play together that often. Man City have found a way of dealing without John Stones at times this season. Akanji's had injuries, Laporte's had injuries, Ake is going to be injured for them. So you do need to find ways of dealing with it. And I know Arsenal financially aren't on the same level as City, and obviously they don't have £50 million backups in every single position. But this is where Mikel Arteta is going to have to, earn his money. And if Arsenal want to win the Premier League, then they'll need to find a way of dealing with it. And the sad reality is, if they don't find a way of dealing with it, then they're probably going to lose.
You know what? Very interesting, because the worst thing of all, or the worst or the best thing of all, I think Arteta is obviously aware of that as well. Come on, he knows him better than all of us. And I think we started on such a front foot with that dose of arrogance, I would say, at Anfield, so confident. Because I think he felt if we score, if we finish them early, even if he gets exposed later, or we're going to be able to keep hold of the game or control the game. At Anfield, we didn't in the end. I can excuse Anfield somehow. West Ham away, we went 2-0 up inside first 10 minutes. And then for me, if it was Cozier Dewberry playing, we have to control this game. This game should have never gone back to where it went, and then we could have even ended up losing because Antonio hit the post later on as well. And then we should never, regardless of Rob Holding, I don't think we should ever be in position that we need to score 4 goals against Southampton to win the game at the Emirates. And yes, he's been liability, but I think we put ourselves in bad positions for many other reasons as well. Not only him, he's an easy target. And Vieira is
like
an easy
Fabio
target.
Vieira or Jorginho.
Yeah, Eddie when Eddie's playing there. These guys are easy targets, Fabio as well. He was poor against Southampton. He was hiding. Midfielder should never hide. But he's an easy target. Rob Holding's going to be an easy target. Well, but everyone makes mistakes. Gabriel made mistakes over the course of the season. Saliba made mistakes as well over the course of being late, whatever, everybody did. But it's just when we start, I think against Southampton, for the first time, I actually thought we felt pressure until 75th minute, where we thought, well, now there is no more pressure because we really don't have anything more to lose. And that's where we started to play. It was like, now, we don't have to think anymore. We just go for it now. And only then legs started to listen to the brain and we took kind of control of the game. But I'm not sure now about Wednesday. Could that maybe for you be a factor as well? Because I think we go now, I'm not going to say we go without the pressure into this game, but come on, everyone's banking on a win of Man City. Man City are banking they're going to win this game. They've been banking on it for ages. They've been waiting for this, just to be in striking distance, and they were banking on a win this game. Everybody, all the pundits, everyone around, nobody believes. Can we go there and say, off the heck, we're just going to do whatever we were doing, forget about everything, go play 11v11 human, just go and enjoy the challenge. That's it. Don't think about it. Don't overthink it. Just don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze. Go and enjoy it. And could it help
Arteta to say something like that in his press conference tomorrow? He normally does when it comes to these big games. His message is normally, listen, you've earned the right to be here, so enjoy it. And I think that's a really good attitude to go into the game with. And you're right. As much as we're picking on Rob Holding, it's not his fault that Ramsdale gave the ball away in the first minute at Southampton. It's not his fault that Gabriel lost Theo Walcott for the second goal, and it's not his fault that Zinchenko lost his man at the corner. So yes, Arsenal are a slightly weaker side with him in it, but if there weren't for the individual errors, they probably would have come away with a quite comfortable win against Southampton, and then we're looking at a very different picture. I think you're right in the sense that now Arsenal go into this game thinking, realistically, I know people will say if Arsenal get a draw, then maybe they'll be okay, but I can't see them winning every single game between now and the end of the season. I think they'll probably drop points at Newcastle. I think that's a very difficult game. And Brighton gave Man United a very good game in the FA Cup yesterday. And I think, when they come to the Emirates, they'll do the same to Arsenal. So those won't be easy matches. And I think Arsenal now go into this game knowing they have to win. And that's a massive contrast to probably if they'd won the game at Southampton, where they go into it saying, look, we've got a cushion. Or even if they won at Southampton and Liverpool as well, they go into the game saying we've got a cushion, we can afford to get a draw. I think that sort of plays with your head in the sense that you don't know whether to attack and go for the win. You don't know whether to sit back and try and come away with a 0-0 or defend and all that kind of stuff. Whereas now Arsenal know they've got to get the win. And I think, yeah, that will change things. I don't think it will change things too much in the sense of Mikel Arteta's tactical plan. I think, you know, his plan will always be to find a way to beat Man City. They caused City a lot of problems. I mentioned that FA Cup tie again, where they went man to man with City. I wonder if they'll do something similar this time, or if they'll try something different. It will be interesting, but I think psychologically Arsenal are in a decent position in the sense that, like you say, that there's nothing really to lose, because I know people will say, oh, they bottled it, they've blown a 5, 7, 8 point lead, whatever. I don't think any of the Arsenal fans realistically think that. I think what people realistically think is no one expected Arsenal to be here. You know, everything from this point is a bonus. And if they win, fantastic. If they don't, obviously everyone will be very upset. But when the dust settles on the end of the season, I think people, well, most, you know, rational people will say, this was a fantastic season. And this is not a team that will go away. It's not like in some of those, in the 2015-16 season where Leicester close, they probably should have won the league that season. And you look at the age of that team and the lack of real tactical identity in that team, and it was clear that was a one-off. Whereas this team, you know exactly what they're going to do. They're all 25 and under pretty much. You can see how the future is going to progress, and Arsenal are going to invest in the summer, and that's very exciting as well. So if it doesn't work out this season, then I think Arsenal will come again and be an opportunity. But focusing on this specific game, I think, yeah, psychologically they do have the boost of saying, look, you know, screw it, let's go for it, and you know, we'll try and win this one. And yeah, who knows? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I'm not fully confident as much as I keep trying to convince myself. But listen,
we can sum up everything we were talking about. Can you tell me, Kaya, what's your first 11? You know, your formation for the Man City game?
Yeah. Okay. So Ramsdale in goal. I think I'd stick with the back four as much as the back three idea is exciting. I just don't think. I think you change too much, and I don't think Zinchenko really fits into that formation. And as Dino was saying before, I think you give Saka too much responsibility playing as a right wing back. So honestly, for me, it'd be an unchanged 11 from the Southampton game. So that's what White, Holding, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Partey. Oh, Xhaka back in for Vieira, because I believe Xhaka is going to be fit. I think it was just a minor illness, so fingers crossed he'll be okay. But find out tomorrow in the press conference. Then Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Jesus. If Xhaka is unavailable, then I think play Trossard. I thought Trossard was really good again off the bench against Southampton. I really like him as a player, and you know, I think he's getting to the point where he's playing so well where you almost need to find a way to start him. I just don't think that City's kind of the game where you can play 4 attackers like that, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, he just almost on score, and against Southampton, the last second, it was close. Sorry, Dino.
No, I was even thinking of some kind of double pivot, maybe with Jorginho and Thomas. Jorginho gives us a little bit of control, but then again, who do you take out? You can't take any out of the front three, Jesus or Trossard, whoever plays between the two. I think Jesus starts this game for various reasons. You know, Man City, he's a team. He needs to do something there. He needs to show something. You don't take Saka off, you don't take Martinelli out of that team, you don't take Odegaard out, and you don't take Xhaka out of that team. So basically, Jorginho just can't slide in for anybody. I think we're probably going to go with that 11 as well. I'm really sad that Man City, you know, just a word on them. I looked at them all season and I thought they're not great. They haven't been great at all. I think Pep was trying to find his solution with Cancelo, tucking it with Rodri, didn't work. Then Walker didn't work. After that, even Rico Lewis, he was constantly trying to find that guy who's going to be our version of Zinchenko, you know, to tuck in from that side, but in a different role that Cancelo used to do before, a little bit different. And then he found John Stones out of nowhere. I mean, he tucks in, and he's, for me, Kevin De Bruyne, Grealish, massive step up. And then Haaland depends on service, I think. So I think Stones, Kevin De Bruyne, Grealish, key players at the moment for them. I think they're carrying the team. And even if you isolate De Bruyne, Grealish just does the damage. Haaland, I mean, everyone is dangerous. But I think this, with Stones, he found the winning formula. And it's just incredible how he slips back to right back, even center back if necessary. I do potentially see the chance for us with, I hope Laporte plays on that left. Well, I don't even know that hybrid role as well. I think it's left center back more or less that Ake used to cover. But Ake would go a lot more wide. And even up as well. Laporte, I don't expect him to go up. I think he's slower than Ake. I don't think he's that great on the ball as well. Ake really improved this season. And I think Saka could have a joy there, but he's going to need help of Ben White and Odegaard. How much Ben White will be able to help him, but also leaving Rob Holding exposed, it remains to be seen. But I think we do have chance. I think we can overload their wide areas. And I think we could have some joy. But then again, you know, so what are your key duels on Wednesday? What do you think? Who do you think? I'm not going to even say weaker link or anything like that, but who do you think is could be, where could we get a little bit of joy? Maybe Gabriel Jesus doing Firmino role like on Rodri and Stones, tying them up. I don't know. Like, who do you think could be?
I mean, City, they're like a Terminator almost, but they're not impossible to beat. They do have weak points, and I think their weak point is. So it's interesting. I watched the Bayern Munich game, the second leg. I watched both legs, but the second leg more recently, and I thought Bayern Munich actually sort of gave Arsenal a little bit of a blueprint as to how to do it, because Bayern Munich had quite a lot of chances in that game, and maybe on another day, I don't think they would have won 3-0 to get through, but I think they would have won the game rather than drawing 1-1. And the interesting thing was City obviously looked to press high because that's what Pep Guardiola teams do, and they look to try and win the ball very high. And Bayern were very brave, and they looked to bypass that. So it was interesting that, you know, in the first leg, that Jack Grealish pressing Upamecano created a problem for Bayern, and obviously City then scored their second goal from that point, but they still kept trying to do the same tactic of drawing Grealish out, and then Haaland is joined by De Bruyne in the front, and that sort of makes a front two, and they sort of press in like a 4-2-4, and Gundogan and Rodri also press very high. And while that is obviously very daunting if you're trying to play out, and, you know, I think we're all sort of thinking quite scary with Rob Holding having to play out against it, it does leave space in behind. And if you can get beyond their high press, which, you know, it can happen, and Arsenal have defenders who are good at playing from the back. Zinchenko's one of the best in the league. Ben White's one of the best in the league. Gabriel's very good as well. Ramsdale's very good at picking out those passes too. And if they can get beyond it, then there is a lot of space. And the idea of Saka running at that back four, like you say, against Laporte, the idea of Martinelli running up against Akanji, I think they can have both those fullbacks on toast. And John Stones pushing up into the midfield, yes, it provides City with the chance to dominate more possession, but it also means that Jesus, like you say, will drop deep, but he can also run into that space that's left behind, and Martinelli can run into the space that's left behind. So City will leave you opportunities. It's very difficult to exploit those opportunities, and they won't come very often. And when they do come, you really have to take them. And this was the case in the game at the Emirates when Arsenal had opportunity with Eddie Nketiah and they didn't take them. I think it was 2 or 3 really good chances that Eddie had. They didn't take those opportunities. Whereas this time, they have to take every single opportunity pretty much that comes their way. And that's the reality of playing Man City. It's almost very, very, very close to perfection is required. And if you're going to do it, everything has to go right. Everything has to be perfect. And there is a way Arsenal win this game. It's not totally impossible, but it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we sum up everything about this match, so we can give a short prediction and a short Q&A, and then we are leaving you, Kaya. So, what's your prediction for the match?
Having just spent time saying about how Arsenal could win the game, I'm going to predict.
So anything else is not good.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to be negative on my first appearance, but I think City will win this game. I think you have to hope that maybe they'll slip up along the way in their remaining games to the rest of the title, but I think they'll win this game. I think, you know, anyone who predicts Arsenal to win this game is a bolder man than me. But maybe you guys feel differently. I don't know.
Okay. Fair, Dino.
I'd say, you know what? I'd probably say we win it in 88 minutes. Rob Holding scores the header from the corner, and that's it. You know.
As you said today, Jorginho scored penalty.
Jorginho scores 90-minute penalty because Rob Holding got fouled in the box on the corner.
Yeah, you know, that's correct answer.
Yes.
Now, jokes aside, it's going to be very difficult, but I think we do have a chance. I think if we don't get scared, if we don't lose the game in the tunnel, I think we can do it. If we do look at them, how they're warming up, how Haaland looks like on the, I think, you know, we lose the game before the game starts, and then, you know, you just get scared by the presence of certain players. I mean, what I've seen in last 3 games against Man City, from Emirates 2-1 defeat last year, when we lost, when Gabriel got sent off, we had them on the toes. Probably our best game against them since the win at the Etihad 2015. Then even this year at the Emirates, what we've seen, I think it could go probably both ways. We let it slip again out of our hands. We didn't score. We were never ruthless enough for this kind of game. And then in the FA Cup, I think I saw probably most compact and organized Arsenal team against Man City in recent years, where we were, I think, man-to-man, toe-to-toe, didn't allow them to dominate. I mean, can we do that again? It's very hard to say, but I think it's going to need something really special. Everybody will have to be, I mean, we're going to have 9 out of, like, 10 players on 100%, you know, it's even above, emotionally and physically and everything. We have to go deep in reserve, I think, you know, and to dig something out. But you know what, I believe we can do it, and well, let's see what happens. Now, just before we leave, Kaye, it's only 1 minute. We promised we're just going to keep you for 2 minutes longer, and then, you know, you should off. We do have a couple of questions. One of them even, you know, is very interesting. Nothing about the game, but one of our one of our people from Bosnian Supporters Club as well just asked briefly, how does the deadline day look like for one of the journalists with good sources? Is that a mess? Is that, I mean,
like, do you have any time to drink some coffee in the morning, or it's just from the morning it's you know, hard, just going hard?
Honestly, man. So since I got promoted into the chief role at the Football London, it's been there's no time to have any coffee or anything like that. No, deadline day is a bit crazy. Especially at Football London, where they want a lot of content, and that's obviously difficult to keep up with those demands. And you're always trying to call people around and you're reacting a lot, which I don't particularly like. I like, as a journalist, I like being proactive and being ahead of the story. Whereas on deadline day, just by its very nature, you're reacting to what's going to happen, and you don't know what's going to happen. So no one is really clear at, you know, 8 a.m. on August 31st, what the situation could be like at 11 p.m. on August 31st. It's impossible to know. So, yeah, it's really hectic. And I remember this January. So what happened? It was Jorginho signed. So that one we sort of knew was going to happen the night before, and then first thing in the morning, you start hearing about Sambi Lokonga moving, and you think, oh God, that's gonna, you know, because that was a strange one, because it sort of didn't seem to make much sense to me that Lokonga was going to leave, and then obviously he did end up leaving, and so you spend the whole day chasing that. And Cedric obviously ended up leaving, and I think there was someone else who I can't quite remember. But it's not just the first team. You're talking about under 21 players, under 18 players, academy players, all that kind of stuff is going on, and every little piece of information you write it up, it becomes a story. So yeah, it's pretty full on. It's pretty hectic. I have to say, it's not my favorite day of the year. I don't particularly enjoy transfer deadline. I know there's a lot of journalists who do love it, and I know lots of fans do love it. But if I could, you know, sleep from August 30th to September 1st, I would do so quite happily. But I think, you know, I respect that a lot of people want to know what's going on, and it's always exciting, isn't it, to see if Arsenal are going to sign someone right up until the end. And generally, the past few years, they've tended to do their business quite late in the window, so that always makes for a very exciting end to the.
I mean, it must be funny when when people spam your some post, announce someone, you know, when like you have a power to announce some player coming to Arsenal or something similar. It's just funny for me, you know. We are living for that day, you know. I usually make my schedule for that day. I tell my girl, I need a free day, just leave me in the piano, and I spend the whole day in front of laptop talking with Dino, making posts for our Facebook page. You know, it's just crazy. We just love it. So I can understand you, but it's a little different. So Dino, sorry, you can continue with question.
Yeah, just so, because Kaye needs to leave. So we just quick other two, which you partially already answered. But anyway, Alem is asking, do you think Arsenal can continue with this progress in the next few seasons? I think you already summed this up perfectly when we started, where you said that this team is not going anywhere. This team is built on great foundations and great grounds. It's not like one-off where you win by coincidence, where you're playing like Tottenham or Leicester, where you have to hope to survive and then counter-attack and punish. You know, it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. So, yeah, I think you pretty much answered that. And then Tariq is asking, City or Arsenal, and why? I think you pretty much covered that as well. Why do you think City is going to win this game? You know, potentially the league as well. It's just, you know, better team.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I think this team is definitely built to last. It's built for the future. You look at the players it's built around. So Martinelli's just signed a contract. Saka will sign a contract. Saliba hopefully will sign a contract too. Once you've got those three sorted, you've got a very exciting nucleus, a very young team. Ramsdale is only 4. There's not many goalkeepers in the Premier League who are younger than him, let alone as good as him. So that's always a good sign. Ben White, 25, Zinchenko, 25, 26, Jesus, 25, 26. The only older players are Xhaka and Partey, and Arsenal are looking to bring in Declan Rice to cover for them in the long term.
Okay, that was the next question. So
that's literally the last question.
No problem. So that other, there you go, another transfer line for you guys. The Declan Rice stuff is something they're trying to do, and I think it's very smart because he can play the Xhaka role, and anyone who saw his goal in the Europa Conference League, I think last week, will see that he can play that role. But he can also play the Partey role of intercepting the ball high up, and the way he intercepted the ball from Thomas Partey was very similar to what we've seen Partey doing in an Arsenal shirt. So I think that would be a really, really good piece of business for us if they can get that done. And you look at the midfield building and getting even better, and look at Rice's mentality. He's clearly a leader in that West Ham dressing room and could come in and stamp his authority in the Arsenal dressing room too. I just think it makes so much sense, and yeah, it'll be a fantastic piece of business. And you look at the teams they're up against, Chelsea, kind of out of the picture. Man United, it's going to be an interesting battle with them, but I think it seems like he would want to stay in London. So fingers crossed.
Dino is a big admirer of Declan Rice, so I think he will enjoy everything you said just now.
Yeah, I watched him on his debut as well, and I watched him ever since. I've seen him playing centre back. I've seen him playing midfield as a holding midfielder. I've seen him playing more advanced roles. I've seen him. I don't know if there is a profile I can really. I think he offers something extra on everyone. On Caicedo, who is a great player. On Tom, he has something different that I don't think there is a profile in the Premier League I can actually compare him to. He's good in almost everything, and he's strong. He's the leader. I think before we leave, you just that we lacked a little bit of leadership in the last few games as well. I think the most experienced players let us down. I don't think Thomas Partey is the leader. He's not vocal, but he's not also on the pitch. I think he tends to crumble when couple around him crumble as well. Xhaka is a leader of that kind. Odegaard is on the pitch leader. He is vocal as well. But I think recently we did not see that, I think we missed Xhaka a lot against Southampton, and we just didn't have these moments where we would stabilize ourselves and find the balance and, boys, we're going to do it, just survive a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's fine. We did not have that, and I think we need it. We need it now, and we're going to need it until the end of the season. And hopefully next season Declan Rice comes in, and I think we're sorted on that.
So just to finish, before we leave Kaya, just with yes or no, are you confident that we can bring Declan Rice this summer in Arsenal? Very short, nothing, you don't have to explain anything.
Yes.
Thank you. That's what we want to hear. So that's all. Just hope that you will have your hot chocolate on the way to Etihad. I told that I will ask you about that. Is that some kind of tradition or what?
It just started as, I think I thought the word hopeful hot chocolate sounded good in my head, so I just tweeted it, and then Arsenal won, and then it sort of became a thing, and now people get really upset if I don't tweet it. So
I saw a few Twitter posts. They're not hot chocolate. Which Kaya we are losing, we are down.
It's a lot of pressure to have on my shoulders to sort of the destiny of Arsenal, but.
So find some pub outside of the Etihad and bring that hot chocolate.
It's the train. It's the Avanti West Coast. You're probably traveling on, and then it's the picture from the train. That's it, and then from the stands.
I will make sure to go to Pret. Don't you guys worry. I'll be there.
Okay, so we'll finish it. First of all, thank you, Kaya, very much for taking your time. Sorry we took too long. We hope you won't be mad on us, so you'll come back here to talk with us for a little more next time.
Thank you very much. A massive pleasure.
My pleasure.
Might see you as well at the Emirates soon.
Fingers crossed. All right, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Lovely to meet you both. See you soon. Bye.
I s ovim smo završili ovaj video sa gostovanjem našeg sada nadamo se budućeg suradnika Kaye Kaynaka, nadamo se da je bilo zanimljivo. Evo, Dino je vodio većinski razgovor, budući da je Dino i u Londonu i vjerojatno je bolje, možda se u nekim trenucima je bolje razumio neke fraze, tako da ja sam se malo ovako držao sa strane. Nadamo se da ste uživali, da nismo uspjeli možda odgovoriti na sva vaša željena pitanja, ali bit će, ja se nadam, još gostovanja, tako da će biti još prilike, just for maybe English followers. We hope that you enjoy that video, and we hope that Kaye will come soon again to talk with us, maybe after Man City win, so we will see what's going on. I'm kidding, of course. Maybe on the end of the season. And that's all. Thanks you for watching. Subscribe on our channel. Push the like, push the share, everything you can. And that's all. Dino, some last word?
That's pretty much it. You know, I already said I expect a win on Wednesday. I'm hopeful, and I believe we can do it. And yeah, win for me, Rob Holding. 1-0. Rob Holding.
Okay, we'll finish in Croatian. Hvala svima koji su gledali, koji gledaju i koji će gledati po našem dobro starom običaju. Ugodan vam ostatak dana i lijepi vam pozdrav.
Pozdrav svima, čao.